So also in topic 13, we have measuring supplier performance. So these are the people you're going to be reaching out to see what they can do. And also we're going to talk a little bit about their companies too. So how do buyers help the companies succeed? Well, we work with internal customers because we serve both communities, internal and external. Develop category expertise. So you're going to become an expert in a certain area. In my past, I had expertise in certain things, and others I didn't have expertise, but I was working on. But I knew there was another person in my office I could go to and say, hey, this is what I've been tasked with. What do I need to do? So, but you need to keep working on yourself too in that. So design purchasing processes. Well, if you're about to purchase something that's totally outside the norm for your company, well, how are you going to do it? Are you going to set it up for a bid? Are you going to do a reverse bid? Are you going to negotiate it with a couple companies? How are you going to do it? And then we're going to manage our strategic suppliers, the ones that really make a difference for us. And then we're going to improve day-to-day operating performance. Is there a way to do it better? Or is the way we're doing it the best way? You can ask the questions on why are we doing it this way? Simple things like that. You'll learn, and you might recommend a change that no one's ever considered before. So we want to think globally, but act locally. So by looking everywhere, we can try to make some changes within our company so that would be the local part. So how do we do all this? Well, we can use a balanced scorecard, and there's a lot of benefits to that. So we're going to communicate our strategic vision. So if there is no scorecard in use, 95% of your workforce can't tell you what your company's goals are, the strategy. But if you had one in place, you could have most of them know what's actually where the business is going. So we're linking our behaviors to that strategy. So we can actually figure out what do we need to do with these scorecards. Like what can I do to make this get accomplished? So we can also promote future capability. So if there's something there in our scorecard that, let's say, is a goal, well, how do we take those necessary steps to get there, build that capability, or invest in certain things to build those capabilities? And also, you don't want this to be a huge document that's bigger than the Encyclopedia Britannica. It should only be about 20 to 25 metrics, and only focus on what's important. Remember, what gets measured gets done, right? And you don't want to reward misbehavior. So here's a balanced scorecard broken down. And they broke it down into a financial perspective, innovation and learning, internal business, and customer perspective. So like under the customer, on-time delivery. Do you think that's important to a customer? I think it is. It is for me when I order things. Under the internal business perspective, they want to see share value increase if they're a publicly traded company. They want to be profitable. So you see how all these relate to the goals of the company. So if they're looking at on-time delivery, they obviously value customer service. And if they're looking at the financial side and looking at quality, well, they value quality, it seems, and they also value employee skills. So, but the employee skills, we also have one in innovation and learning that's actually learning. So getting people to learn, that's a good one to have, right? So designing a scorecard. So a scorecard, you're going to have 3 levels of questions underneath your company's vision statement. So if your vision succeeds, how will I look different to my shareholders and customers? So if we decide to go all green, and well, what will my customers think of that? Will they think I'm a progressive company, or will they think, oh, that's just a passing fad, that's not going to work? What are they going to think? So the second question here, what are the things that I need to do to succeed? So what do I need to do to accomplish that, what identified in question 1? So you see how we're drilling down here? And our final question here, What are the key performance indicators? Remember, what gets measured gets done. So here we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to measure our performance indicators that will show us that we're succeeding at that second question to accomplish the first question and ultimately accomplish our strategic vision. So here's what one might look like. They come in all sorts of different shapes, sizes, and all that, so don't get hung up on how this one looks. But you can see how each category kind of goes downward until you get to that key performance indicators. Sometimes they're called metrics, and in some places they'll actually post these metrics so everybody can see them. For example, manufacturing environment might post these near the break room so everybody can stop and see them. Because if you don't know where you're at, you don't know how you possibly can change to get better or what needs to be worked on, right? So we have a process of designing a supplier scorecard. So the first one is decide who should provide input. What do you want to measure from these suppliers? So from this, you're going to get a list of appraisal criteria. These are the things you're going to ask and measure. And then next, you're going to provide feedback and promote discussion. So you're going to kind of go back and forth on these. Come up with how the questions are going to be worded, how you're going to measure them. So distinguish objective from subjective criteria. So objective, meaning there's a hard number that can be associated with that, or subjective, the quality was good. That's a very subjective thing because you might think it's good, I might think it's not. Where objective is, I can tell you that, a Post-it note right here is 3 inches by 3 inches. Not 3 1/4, not 3 1/2, not 3 1/8. It's 3 inches by 3 inches. So then we have to establish weights via a penny experiment. So we're going to actually get down to the hundredths of a point on this. And then we're going to define the measurement scale for each criteria. What are we going to say is going to equal to the maximum score? What do they have to do for the maximum score? What about a middle score? What about the lowest score or a 0? And then we're going to assess group influence to adjust the weights. Somebody might be the loudest person in the room, so everybody just gives in to them to make them be quiet. We've all been in meetings like that. So what about everybody else's opinion? That person might be advocating for criteria being 50%, but everybody else thinks it should be lower, maybe around 20%. Well, this is the time to make sure that everybody is on board with these adjust the weights if needed. So a sample scorecard here. So we're looking at quality, delivery, customer satisfaction, and impact score. But you see on the right here, we have targets. So quality, we have delivery, customer satisfaction, quality, and delivery impact. So all these criteria have numbers associated with them. So delivery, so if it's greater than 95%, well, then they would get the perfect score if they were greater than 95. But if they're less than that, now we have to figure out, okay, well, if they hit 90, is that a 4? Is that a 4.5? We need to determine this also. But we have targets here for the maximum score. So when we do the weighted score, this one comes out to a 4.9%. So, and these are hard numbers. Everybody agreed to the targets, the criteria, what's being rated and scored. So everybody should be on board with taking a look at it and say, yes, 4.9. This supplier is 4.9 out of the 5. So if it came down to it and you have a 4.9 and a 4.5, well, the 4.9 should win, right? So we have some do's with this supplier scorecard. We need to inform our business reviewers. If we don't know what's going on out there, then how can we measure it? Or how do we know what's good and what's bad? And, post your scorecards to the internet. There might be another company that might be looking for something and could use it. Now, granted, if it's proprietary information, don't post it to the internet, of course. And you can help your suppliers by, they can use that as benchmarks to try to get to. If you want 95% on-time delivery and they're currently at 90% or 85%, they know they need to work harder to get to that maximum score. And then you can also support a supplier recognition program. So if a supplier is in a certain point range, let's say it was 4.7 to 4.9, and they get a silver award, well, that might motivate the company to do even better to get to that 5, and then they might get a diamond award or whatever the company decides to call it. So these things actually motivate companies because they know what they're being rated on, and they're going to work hard to try to meet that criteria. Now, if they don't meet these criteria when you're measuring them, and they're still a supplier of yours, you might want to work with them to help them develop into a great supplier. So don't just kick them to the curb because they didn't make a good score on your scorecard. So some things that you should not do. So don't lose focus. You created a scorecard for a reason, and you've set the criteria on there for a reason. Don't go back on it. Don't say, oh, well, I'm friends with the owner. No. And don't rely on easy to collect information. If it's easy to collect, you can just do it online. You can type it into Google and find the numbers you need. But try to dive deep into the information that you want from them. If they have 95% delivery time, you might ask them to prove it. It's up to you on how you do that. But know that there might be some misbehavior if they claim that, and now you're trying to measure it because of this reward that you might give them. So look into that. Make sure you're not losing focus there. So next we're going to look into supplier certification, and I hope that you learned something from this one, and let me know any comments or suggestions you have by sending me an email. All right.